All right, welcome back to SimDog. We are at Amber Lake, obviously. And, okay, so we do have a cafe order to fill. Actually, we've got a couple of them. So before we fill the cafe order, let me go show you. So we're gonna fish in a minute, but I want to, in a few minutes, I want to show you sort of the result of the spot first. I did some testing at this spot earlier, and it's at the 120 spot up in the north section of the map. So we'll go there and I'll kind of show you the setup, what we're using. But first I wanted to give you, as you can see, it's been a while since I did this fishing several hours ago, but I wanted to give you an idea of kind of what we're looking at. So for 5 hours, so we want to go to about 4 hours. So that would be right here, exactly. So 464 silver in the first hour. And that's going to be the best hour. If we go to the second hour, 4 hours to 3 hours, it's going to be like right about here, 203 silver. And then the last little bit of time was another 200 silver. So it did die down a little bit. And that was just straight fishing, no break. So I didn't like reset or anything. We just kept going. So yes, it died down some, but one point I wanted to make is that this spot is actually really healthy right now, because compared to other spots at Amber, at least right now, other spots I'm getting about 50 minutes out of, or around an hour, and then they just really die out. So this spot was really nice. Let's also take a little bit of the look at the bait combinations. This should be interesting. So we're going to look at some of our best. So some of the biggest ones, this common was Juicy Mulberry 15 with Mulberry Purple, Black Currant 18 with Juicy Mulberry 15. So that's the double pop-up one. Mulberry 15 with Mulberry Purple, Mulberry 15, Mulberry Purple, same thing. Now, one thing to know is that the majority of the time I fished with Mulberry 15 and Mulberry Purple. The Black Currant, I ran out of that size boilie, so I had to switch to 2 of them with the Mulberry setup. But I also had one for a long time with the larger boilie, the Mulberry 20 and the Mulberry Purple. And see, that did catch one of the largest frame size. There's a smaller 15 purple. And those are about the same size, so not much difference. Mulberry 15, Mulberry Purple. So let's look at the leather carps. The largest one was on the Black Currant. And I am hoping now that we have more Black Currant, we can test and see if we see any more leathers. All right, that's Mulberry 15, Mulberry 15, Mulberry 15. And then linears, not as many linears came in. Mulberry 15, Black Currant 14. The linears are there, but very scarce. Tons of mirrors. Black Currant 14 got the largest mirror. So I'm kind of excited to get Black Currant back in there. And then the one rare we got was on the double pop-ups. I do think there's a chance for catching rares over there. But what stood out to the spot about me was just it was just really consistent fishing. So let's turn in these cafe orders, and then let's just sell all of our fish. Get a fresh start here. So that's 28 silver, and then this will be 61, so about 90 silver right there, and that's all we're gonna have. 90 silver. Let's sell the rest of them. Let's see kind of what we made. So this would have been in about 2.5 to 3 hours of fishing with cafe orders. 90 plus 844, so about 9:35. So not bad. And again, the first hour especially strong, and then it dips a little bit hour to hour after that, again without resetting. So if you reset, let it rest for an hour, rotate or whatever, you can maybe keep up that higher amount. It's hard these days to compete with Tunguska, the average silver you can get at Tunguska, but this spot is better than other spots I've tested lately at Amber, so I feel like we are getting close. Now, one thing I want to do here, people often talk about like, oh, carp fishing, but you have to pay for all that PVA, right? And that gets really expensive. So let's see how expensive this PVA is. All right, 2 silver for that, and then we want corn pellet 6, 5 silver, so we're at 7 silver. And then we want black 5. So that's 12 silver. I have a bunch of these, so I'm not going to. So that's 17 silver. And then we want the attractant we're using is black. 17. Let's go alphabetical here. 17. So this divided by 5, so that's like 2 silver. So we'll say 19 silver. And then we are crushing up boilies. Smallest boilies available. We're using 19 silver plus, we'll say 12, even though it's not using all of them. So that's 31 silver plus the cost of the PVA material. So add 4. So like, you know, is it a little bit of silver? Yes. But is it that expensive? No, not compared to the profit you're making. So I just wanted to make that point in the sense that if you've got a good spot, and let's go ahead and make the ground bait so you can actually see it. If you've got a good spot, the cost of PVA is actually really small. And I mean, in fact, it's really small. So let's crunch up some boilies. We may not need this PVA bag, but just in case, I don't know how long we'll fish for. I've got some still left of the last one I made. All right, so we're using corn flour. We're using corn pellets. We're using black currant 5, black currant 8. And we are using those crushed black currants and then black currant. The reason why I call it mulberry black is because we're using this with both black currant and mulberry setups. Okay, and then let's go ahead and make the PVA just in case we fail or something. I think we actually have enough that we wouldn't have to come back for it anyway. That's the right one. Now let's ride out there. Well, let's ride out there and actually do some fishing. Alright, I think that's longer than I've ever listened to that song. We're pretty much here. Okay, so I want to see exactly where I want to aim here. Basically there. I want to get this in the water just for direction. It's not as big a deal in the day. At night, it's just nice to have something that you can just kind of look at. And the reason why this is especially important right now is because we are going to spot the water. I don't spot it a lot when fishing with PVA, but I have recently started doing at least an initial spot to kind of get things going, you know. All right, we're clipped at 26, 27, and 28. So I spot at 27, sort of right in the middle. All right, so we're gonna aim right there. And by the way, if you notice there, we've got mulberry 15 with purple corn. Some of the impressiveness of this spot to me is that we are using smaller boilies, and yet still catching really pretty high quality fish. So this one will be 27. And I would actually suggest, for maximum efficiency, that on this one you actually put the same size smaller boilies. I'm going to put larger on for nothing else, more for just testing. I would love to see a trophy come out of this spot, which it totally could on the smaller boilies. But I do think, even though it might be a slightly slower bite rate, I kind of like having at least one larger boilie. And like I said earlier, I was also putting double pop-up boilies on this third line some of the time as well. All right, so we will go ahead and let's kind of get at the same angle that we're typically throwing here. So 27, and let's try to aim this right over here and trust that that got close enough to the spots where we're casting it all out. And we're going to let this sit just for a few seconds, and then we will pull it in, and hopefully we'll be able to get going here with at least a few fish. The main thing I wanted to show you was just kind of the results there at the beginning. We are at 120, 155, by the way. G3 on the map. And we're using size 1 hooks. Trying to make sure I've given you all the information. I love the way these carp rods look. We've got 2 Avalons and a Sage. They're all Kingfisher, so they look very similar with the same colored line on. Aesthetically, it's very pleasing to me. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring this in. We feel like that spot has had a chance to spread like we want it to. Let's see if we can't get an interesting fish. So another thing I was going to show you that I forgot to, in the fish layout, you will catch some juveniles or some small carp here, but it's predictable. They often come in batches, so you'll get like 3 or 4 at the same, like similar time, and it's pretty much always in off carp time spots. So like we would expect this to be a pretty decent carp. It's not, so we'll just pretend like the spot hasn't activated yet. Is that actually a gibble? Wow, what a bad sign to catch a gibble on your first. I guess that's the price we pay of using these small boilies. But like once you get to like 2, 3 in the afternoon especially, you'll go on a little run of some smaller ones. But in the mornings and in the evenings, you're pretty much getting, in this spot, in my experience at least, even on these small boilies, you're getting really nice quality carp, kind of like this one. I am back to mono line. I recently had to repair a couple of the reels, and I just felt like the damage with that braided line was unnecessarily fast. So we're back to mono line, and we're also using not quite as the same strength of line, which allows us to have more line on the spool. So the hope is that even with the trophy carp, we'll have time to sort of wear it out and coax it in. But honestly, Amber, for me at least, has not been producing the same amount of trophies that it was before Tunguska came out. So I'm not necessarily setting up my gear for trophies right now. I'm kind of setting it up for efficiency and not accruing unnecessary repair costs at too fast a rate. Now, if I hook into a 50 kilo leather carp, you know, I might regret that decision. But it just doesn't feel like right now that's very likely. So, when I did have braided line on and had, 36 kilo line and leaders and all that, a little more strength, I would have said, okay, if this is a common carp and it's pulling line like that, chance of being a trophy. The way it is now, this is probably more like a 15, 16 kilo carp. Maybe even a little less than that. We'll see. You know, not every carp fights the same. It is interesting that our first fish and a really nice fish did come in on the black currant and black currant corn versus the mulberry with the mulberry corn. And notice that the dips are different as well. We actually have black currant dip with this setup, and we're using the mulberry dip with the other two setups. The other thing you may want to do if you think you're going to fish this spot for multiple sessions, in other words, like for an hour or two, then reset it, let it rest, and then come back, you may want to just use all mulberry, straight 3 across, and then when you come back, do straight black currant. I think that would be an interesting test as well to see if you prefer one or the other. I think they're both just working really well in this spot, so I'm not sure that... Okay, so it's a mirror. Looks like a pretty decent little mirror there. Yeah, 18 kilo mirror. Very nice first fish. $120, $155 is back. I'm not sure it ever left, but it certainly was a lot slower for me there for a while. Which, you know, the spots we were really spending more time at Amber lately has been down here in the southern southeastern part of the map, and that has started to slow for me. This spot here is still pretty good. Fished this earlier today, I think, for an hour, but it was one of those spots that after 50 minutes or so, it started slowing dramatically for me. So this is that spot at G8. I think it's 160. Does that sound right? But it's been a few days since I fished over here at all, because it just felt like it was dying out a little bit. Now, it might be getting better again. I don't know. And I have really mostly been using fruity, so black currant and mulberry lately. I haven't gone back to fishy in a while. It would be worth trying fishy over here. It would be worth going back to some of the other spots that have been pretty active and seeing if fishy's working there as well. It is nice with fishy because you, lately at least, have been catching a lot of barbel, even some eyed. But on the fruity, we occasionally will get tench, although I haven't seen any tench in this spot. We'll give it about 10 more minutes or so and just see if we can get a couple of fish in for you. We are in the afternoon point now, so we may... Although it's good to see a spot at its slowest, too, to see kind of what to expect during some of the off times. Quick bites on these smaller boilies. See, the larger boilie and corn setup hasn't given us anything yet, so that's why I think if you want to make the most silver in this spot and also just most activity, go ahead and just line them up 3 across with these smaller boilie sizes. They're doing really well right now. I mean, the size carp they're catching is nothing to sneeze at for sure. I like how many mirrors, nice mirrors are here. But I also think it's fun that occasionally you're seeing some of the other, especially frame-sided. We had some decent frames come out here. Commons, and a handful of leathers. Not many linears. The linears seemed more rare. But with all that range of species, it feels like some of the actual rare carp could come out here too. I think unfortunately this time of day we are going to look at there. We're going to see some smaller, but hey, we'll take a smaller red starvis any day of the week. And that was on the black currant. Let's just hope this is a gibble. I can't tell. Please don't be a common. That'd be embarrassing. Oh. I guess sometimes the small boilies do what small boilies do. Let's just pretend like that. Let's just pretend like that fish does not exist. But this is a nice little spot. I saw somebody on VK talking about fishing here. I didn't go to the trouble of like translating their PVA and stuff they were using, but I know that I've got a couple of different blackcurrant PVAs that I've been using for the last couple weeks, and they seem to work fine. So the other thing I wanted to do tonight was spend some time trolling at Tunguska again, and I just never got the chance. Work. I had to do a lot of work tonight, so. But thankfully I did get to carp fish for a while, and I knew I wanted to at least make a video about this spot before the night's over. That's kind of cool. The first leather comes in. Now, if I do, I think I'm probably going to take a break from carp tomorrow. We'll see, though. I mean, I'm planning on streaming, so we may do some other, some variety of things. But if we do make it back here, I'd be curious to try some other experiments here in this spot. Obviously, the larger boilies is slowing it down significantly. So then you got to start thinking, well, what other adjustments could we make? Well, one thing I would want to try is what if I increase the hook size a little bit? What if I put 1/0 on here and keep the smaller boilie and corn set up so we know we're going to catch some smaller fish. We try to put a little bigger hook to see if we can weed out some of the smallest ones. It doesn't always work that way, but sometimes it does actually. So that can always be interesting. Have we caught anything on this third line yet? If it was early, right? I don't know that we have. No, we haven't. I think it'll pick up once we get out of the middle of the afternoon. It'll pick up a little bit, but if it does catch a fish, I'll probably go ahead and switch it because it's obviously just too slow. I mean, the whole point of this spot is really... Did you see how weird that mirror was swimming to the side there? The whole point of this spot is really just it's a decent quality, but it's the quantity of those like mid-sized carp you're catching. That's what gets your silver total up for a spot like this. You're not expecting to suddenly be catching a ton of trophies or anything. You're really just like the bite rate and having decent quality. All right, so it looks like we're gonna have to wrap this up here pretty shortly. All right, I do have to go, but hopefully this has been helpful. Let me know if you do end up trying 120, 155. I think it's pretty decent right now, but would love to hear if you're trying out new spots at Amber or what you're up to. But as always, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.